Alright, so, hi everyone, it's also 17 illustrations like usual. I don't release pictures, not pay video. Alright, I made the thumbnail, so yeah. I wanted to make this video during the weekend, but something happened. I was gonna make it Sunday, but Saturday night, my internet was not working properly until Sunday night at like 2 in the morning. Well, actually Sunday night to Monday morning, and I literally was like, tired, so I couldn't really make it. But I did watch the episodes, so I think I can get the amount of episodes I want before we meet the Demon Lord Destruction Melody. But yeah, so let's just get this started. This is basically part 4 of Naruto Reincarnation as a Slime. So yeah, so what happens is very simple. It's basically the whole entire after Trini, the Dryad, basically asked Rimuru Tempest, aka Naruto, to basically defeat the Demon Lord. I mean, the not Demon Lord, the Orc Lord. So basically, we just have her sitting down, sipping tea, with while basically Naruto is in his human form. He goes, "So, you want me to defeat the Orc Lord?" He goes, "Yes." Basically, he goes, even though they had like so many soldiers, he goes, "Yes." Which then he basically says, and there seem to be no bodies. Basically, he looks at Soe, which Soe nods. He goes, "So, what does that mean?" Basically, Trinity says, "Well, the Orc Lord has a unique skill called Starve, which all his men or soldiers would basically starve and eat and consume. This also means basically they also gain the strength of their enemies and allies. So basically, Naruto nods. He goes like, I see. So that means basically, no matter what they eat, that is living, they'll get the abilities or the set parameters of that species, right? Which she does not." He goes, "Well, that seems kind of a problematic. Well, if they're gonna go through the marsh, then basically where the lizard men are, that means they're gonna be causing more problems. Well, it looks like we really do have to accept basically accept their offer to basically join them in the fight. But I don't want to talk to that guy again. Even he is basically the leader of the chief. But actually, Soe goes, yes, Lord Rimuru goes like, can you basically send a message to them saying we will basically make an alliance with them? Which he does nod, and then he goes, and can you make it as quickly as possible? If I got a bad feeling about this. Which he goes, right away, sir, and basically just leaves. So Soe will do his thing. Now, Naruto will be looking at Hiruzen and goes like, Hiruzen, which he goes, yes, Lord Rimuru? He gets up, basically, is like, well, time to teach me a few things. I don't know how to use a sword or a bow staff, but let's start with the sword first, which he nods. So, basically, yeah. So, I want to say, but Trini, basically, before, Rimuru leaves, saying, so you will take on the Orc Lord? Was like, I just basically gave the orders. Of course. It's going to cause more problems for me in the future, and basically the forest. And besides, I can't let any more innocent, basically, monsters die now, can I? Which Naruto says with a grin, which Trini just nods. He goes, thank you. He goes, no problem. So she leaves, and it literally, basically, Gabiru wakes up, everything goes exactly the same way as for him, but it's like, it takes a day, so Naruto trains, and, well, for some reason, when, basically, train with the sword, he is getting his butt kicked. He is getting his butt kicked by Hiruzen. But when they go to the bow staff, for some reason, he seems... It seems way more better, it suits basically Hiruzen better. Basically, the old... by the way, no, basically, it was the old man that was named was Hikaru, basically the ogre, that basically became a Kishin. which I just changed the name to Hiruzen, which he basically after training, he was, waiting for Soe to basically tell them. He basically just sighs for like, okay, thanks for the training, Hiruzen. It was not a problem, Lord Rimuru. Which he basically goes like, by the way, why do you seem so at ease with a bow staff? Which he just chuckles, goes like, there's many things that you will find out, Lord Rimuru. Many things indeed. And when the time comes, I will tell you. And he just walks away, which he goes like, no, just like Gigi sometimes. Always was annoying when those stuff. Always saying, in time I'll find out. But it always was fun in the end. Well, actually, or funny. And surprising. Well, gotta practice still with my swordsmanship. So, yeah, Naruto does that. Meanwhile, clones are basically doing everything they can to get chakra control. The three-pronged kunais would technically also be being made by Kenji and his friends, in which, kind of surprisingly, but yeah. So, in a sense, it's just kind of basically like shocking that basically an interesting kunai. Shurikens have also been made too. So basically, the Goblin Kingdom. I mean, not the Goblin Kingdom, but basically Naruto's basically town. He also is basically working out while he's waiting for everything. He's basically working on a system how he's going to advise people. So he basically decides, okay, so basically, who'll be the best tactician here? I mean, Benimaru will probably be. Yeah. He'll be basically my tactician. In charge of basically, my forces. So my army's forces and basically everything else to the strategy. Shion can basically, wait. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure. Yeah, Shion basically can be my basically bodyguard secretary. She's adamant at that. So, in terms of that, she will be my Anbu. But, she always will be seen. So I guess she could be my samurai. Basically, Benimaru's sister, Shune, could be... I think it's Shune. Give me a minute. Yeah, Shune basically could be the priestess. Basically, Kuro can be the basically blacksmith along with Kenji and his friends. And then Hiruzen can be the trainer, and basically, oh my god, Sue, shut up. Yeah, I was right. Sue basically, could be my spy, and then, I just have to go from there. That seems about right. So basically, Naruto decides that, and he goes like, maybe if I can also try to find maybe a couple people to actually be able to use chakra. I mean, that would be kind of easy to make my own ninja force. But I also would have to keep it a secret from their kingdoms. But at the same time, if I do that, then that's going to be a problem. They'll actually think I don't trust them. In truth, you don't trust no one in the ninja world. That's for sure. Maybe if I basically keep my alliances understanding of this to keep my information basically gathering. I would basically only like to get the general information basically of it. They could actually be reasonable and actually tell me instead of me getting it. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Basically, he just stretched in his chair. So, basically, Soe comes, goes, Lord Rimuru, they have accepted your request. Basically, to be allies. He was like, alright. So, I guess we should get everyone together, head out, right? Which he just nods. Which he goes, man, I can't wait to test out what I can do in this new body of mine. Which Sobe asks, what do you mean? He was like, Well, I mean, all of a sudden 9 tails appear, including basically not the ears, but just 9 tails appear, and his claws get sharper. He was like, I need to test out what I can truly do with this. Which he understands and nods. So, everything with Gabaru and the chieftain and his daughter has happened. So, in a sense, they, you know, basically, Gabaru took over and they're fighting. Naruto, basically was basically with everyone in canon, on Ragna. Basically, he's back and the other wolves. So they're basically running off, and then he hears Soe says, Lord Rimuru, seems basically a lizard man, or lizard woman basically, is attacked by high-ranking orcs. What should I do? Which Naruto's basically closed his eyes and he can basically sense where he is. He goes, I'll be there in a second. Which he goes, so you want to test out? And he goes, yeah, I want to test everything out real quick. If you don't mind, just keep her safe for me, alright? Which he nods. Basically, he basically tells them all, I'll be back, but follow my scent, alright? Which they like, what do you mean? He goes like, I'm testing something out. Ragna, leave them to me, alright? Which he just nods. Basically, Naruto jumps off of Ragna and basically disappears, basically, as soon as he hits a tree branch, and, he's just gone. Basically, he can feel his body moving a lot faster. He goes, Great Sage. Which he goes, yes? How fast am I moving? He goes, basically, to a ninja speed, you are basically moving at high Jonin level. Which he goes, so how fast can I really go? He goes like, past Kage level. Which he just nods. He basically just like, grins, afterwards going, alright then, let's see what I can do. So he does that. And basically when the actual lizard woman, the chieftain's daughter, was about to get killed, Soe comes in and destroys the weapon, and then he basically gets her out of there. She's like shocked to see who this is, but then all of a sudden someone appears with crimson red hair, basically in, I want to say instead of blue, it's red. So the jacket's red, he still has the scarf and such, and he's just grinning as one of the orcs, well, basically the one that was attacking mostly the chieftain's daughter, goes like, who are you? He goes, oh, I'm something, well, actually, it's none of your concern, but I want to hear you squeal, little pigs. Which, they're like, what? As Naruto literally has his claws out, and he just disappears from their sight. But they can basically see, the orcs see even Soe, and but the chieftain's daughter, that Naruto literally clawed a chunk of the orc he was in front of off, and then literally, it basically just shots out like red, basically fire off of its body, basically burning to death. In which Naruto's just saying, so that's what happens when I use my chakra. It can literally burn things with my claws. Interesting. Which the other orcs are backing away. He was like, so you can still feel fear while you're in starve mode, huh? Alright. I think I basically can just have a little more fun. Well, I mean, I think. So, he basically, does go through, but they're like all getting sliced, basically killed off so quickly. Which, Soe is shot, including the chieftain's daughter, but, I think she would be, ignoring the pain too much, which then Naruto walks over, like shaking his hand off of blood, and legit get a health potion for her and tell her to drink this, but take it slowly, okay? Which she does nod out of a little bit of fear, which Naruto sees, and he goes to himself, so this is how it is to be like Kurama. I mean, the memories are, well, a good experience, but actually doing it and acting like him a bit, that's different. I wasn't like this before, but some of my personality is like his now. I'm not a bad person, am I? Which then, which basically just something he would hear in his head. Someone basically saying, you are not a bad person. You can't help it. This is who you are now. Don't deny it. Which he's like, huh? So he looks around. He doesn't understand who said that. Neither does Great Sage. I mean, honest and true. Who do you think it would be? So, Naruto's just like, that was weird. Okay, whatever. So, he gets up, he goes, "So, who are you?" Basically, he just asks. She goes, well, "I'm the chieftain's daughter." Basically, she explains the situation about Gabiru, which Naruto just sighs. It was like, of course, he's an idiot. Which she does not. He goes, "But he's still my brother." He goes, "Well, you can't choose your family. So, I mean, I don't blame you." Which, basically, everyone else arrived. They even see the bodies. Which, they're like, wondering who did it. But basically, I think, Haruzen knows. He goes, "Lord Rimuru, did you do this?" He goes, "Had to test out some stuff. Basically, just, has his claws going sharpened." So, which he nods. And then, basically, she's basically begging, to be, for help, even after, they didn't listen to him and such. And, well, Shion was, was praise her for basically recognizing Naruto as, for being his, being so strong. But I do think Naruto would kind of sigh. And a little bit of, like, with a tone saying, "Shion, do not basically praise me for my power alone." She's begging basically because she needs help. See, I am strong. So please. Which, she looks and she can tell that he's being serious, which she nods. Then he basically, apologizes for what she says. No, it was out, was out of line, but he says, no, still. I guess it is because of she sees my strength and such, but still. I don't want it to be praise on it. I want to earn that praise. Which, I mean, if you really think about it, his old mentality of wanting to earn it, like, earn the respect of the village, but this one's like praise now. It's like still there. Instead of like just being given it just because of he's their master. In which I think, they would nod, but especially Haruzen with a smile. Which she goes, "Will you help me, please?" And he goes, "Of course. Why would I not help you?" He basically puts his hand behind his head and smile, basically to her. In which she goes, "But we betrayed you." He goes, "No. You did not know your basically brother was gonna, do a coup. Take over the whole entire, basically, lizard men. And then basically go into a war with with basically the orcs. You didn't know this, so how can I blame you for someone else's decision? I mean, I can't blame your father, and I can't blame you. And besides, it'd be pretty stupid just to basically not even try to actually have a basically alliance with you just because of that reason alone. Don't you think?" And she basically, just nods and goes like, "Zoe, can you go over and get her father?" Which she goes, "Right." And then he basically also makes a shadow clone, which, her eyes widen. He goes, "Also, shadow clone will be coming with you just in case there's more enemies." Which he goes, "Right, thank you, Lord Rimuru. But I can't handle this on my own." He goes, "But still, I do not want you to die on me, Zoe." Which, basically, he does nod. And then basically after when Zoe leaves, Benimaru asks Lord Rimuru, why? He goes, "I heard this from a man who basically nearly was like my grandfather. His name was Haruzen Sarutobi." Which basically, oh yeah, Zoe and the lizard man, the lizard chieftain daughter lived. Yeah, I forgot, you know. So basically Benimaru was like, "Wait, you mean," which he looks at basically Haruzen, which is basically or basically that basically, it's a trainer, which goes, "Yeah, I gave him because he reminds me of, I gave him the name because he reminds me of him, in some way or form. He told me those who abandon the rules are trash, but those who abandon friends are worse than trash. He said it, that was said by a young boy named Obito Chiha. I kind of live by that code. I would not let a comrade of mine die or abandon them, no matter who they are, even if they are my subordinates. Because if they do die, I know it's my decision, and I want to at least know I at least tried my best to do everything I could to keep them alive." Which, that kind of basically, that kindness being shown, his fault, basically, Shion, Haruzen, Maru, Gavta, the other basically goblins along with the wolves along with Ragnar were actually kind of moved by that. He goes, anyways, let's get to the marsh, which they all nod, they, right off. So, what's happening at the marsh? Same thing in canon. You know, Gabiru is basically having troubles, and he's basically seems like he's gonna lose and such. We do go to Laplace and Lord Gelmute, who are basically watching this, basically with anticipation, because like the plan is working. Basically, because after everything you've done, it finally seems to basically be working, Lord Gelmute. I'm truly amazed by your brilliance. Basically, Laplace says. Basically, Lord Gelmute was like, yes, hopefully no complications will happen, and Geld will basically take over the forest of Jura, and a new demon lord will be born. Basically, Trinity comes in and, basically tell them to get out, or basically, that's what she would say, but she's here to punish them. In which they're like, oh crap, basically. So Laplace loses his arm and they leave. Now, basically, Gabiru is basically getting his. He's getting really beaten. I mean, yeah, he's getting beaten pretty good in canon, so he's getting exactly the same thing. And, well, Gapta comes in and saves him. Which is he just says, well, you're the one who's the real leader of basically, the goblins. He's like, huh? Did you get too many hits on the head? So, yeah. So, everything goes exactly the same. The only difference is, I think, Naruto will literally be, like, in the air, just flying. He goes, huh, I wonder if I can create a Biju Dama. I want to basically do it where none of my forces are. So he literally puts up one finger. He basically acting like it's a Rasengan. And he takes a miniature Biju Dama, points it, and just let it launch over to it. As when it basically hits a whole, like, an area of orcs, it explodes and causes a massive amount of damage, which Naruto's like, that was just a miniature version. Wow. I have to be careful with that. I mean, at least, I think I will do the Rasengan more now. Or at least start using it. Note to self. That's some A tier stuff, Biju Dama. Or S tier, don't use it. Only when you're alone. And facing an army by yourself. Which basically all the orcs, and everything, are kind of wondering who basically made that that explosion happen besides the Black Spear of Flames. Basically, Shion, Berimaru, and Haruzen basically say to themselves, that must be Lord Rimuru. Basically, Haruzen basically also says, a Biju Dama. My boy, you've never ceased to amaze me. So yeah, everything's happening the same. Now, would Naruto use Great Sage in this one? Heck no! He basically, would save Gabiru because of Lord Galmu, basically, comes in and such. And he literally just looks at him. And he say, you're quite pathetic for a Machin. Which, he goes, what? How dare you say that to me? I am Lord... As basically just punches him, but it's like, from what basically I could tell from Rimuru, Tempest, and the enemy, his punches basically hit pretty hard. But if you really count that Naruto as a Biju, which, is strong, I think even in human form, basically that hurts pretty hard. Like, the mask looks like it's cracked a little bit, or basically about to come off. Then basically, Naruto punched him in the stomach, which he looks like he coughed up blood, and they just kicked him later. After he was kept on going on and on, spouting about, you basically you defeat me, then try to get him on his side, and say, you'll pay for what you did to me. You hear me? I'm Lord Gelmu. Basically, blah blah blah. Naruto's just in his head, like, such a cockroach, can't learn to shut it. I mean, even if I basically had my own mentality still as a human, I still would think this guy just kind of pathetic. Seriously. Which, he tells Geld basically to, kill him and stuff, blah blah blah. the whole entire thing of him just using him and such was revealed, and Geld finally kills him and then eats him and becomes a demon lord. Basically, Shion, Beimaru, and Hiruzen and Soe do try to basically kill the Orc Lord, but don't, including Ragna. Basically, after Ragna uses up those magicals, Naruto goes, "You did good, Ragna. Take a rest. And everyone else, I'll handle him." Which they're like, "But Lord Rimu!" As they see him with just a, smile, just walking. Which they nod. Basically, they finally realize they nod. He goes, "So, I can finally see my true capabilities with this. Let's only use what I was born with." Huh? Besides, Great Sage, he thinks in his head when he says that. Would it even work if I basically used my chakra against him? Which, it says calculating. It may be a possibility that you'll be able to outmatch him in speed and strength. But in healing and basically trying to kill him will be more of a challenge. He goes, so I have to think of a way how to basically fully get rid of him. The only thing I can think of is his star versus my predator, correct? Which basically Bracehead says, yes, that is correct. He goes, well then, let's see what he's really made of. To see if he can actually attain the title, to see if his title, Demon Lord, the Devourer, is actually true. So Naruto literally runs. Basically, Geld will do the exact same attack that that tries to eat Naruto. But since Naruto literally just takes out the blade, just starts slicing them, anything he cannot slice, basically he uses his claws and slash through them. He then even puts the sword on fire, basically, and just starts slicing through them. Slices through them more again, close to Geld, which Geld's like, what the? So he basically gets through and, hits the Geld's sword, but then Geld lets go and we're like, what? Because it's started melting, which Naruto goes like, even though you became a recent demon lord, that strength you have to block that was pretty impressive. Of course, I just used my natural strength. As he spins the sword around a little bit in his fingers and then, gets back to the grip, he goes like, now, let's see how much you can actually keep up with me. So, in a sense, Naruto basically uses his chakra to enhance him, basically, his speed, and, Geld had a little bit of a hard time. He gets multiple slashes with multiple fires, basically, around. He even basically cuts off Geld's arm, like Rimuru were doing canon. It's just, the fact is, basically, he even used shadow clones, and it seems like Geld can't really tell who's the which one, because they all poof. Which, he literally just kind of, smile at this, basically. But he does, get right in front of Geld to get close. Geld would basically, grab him, and he would use Ifrit's fire circle to basically try to burn him down, weaken him a bit, but it doesn't work. He just says, of course you have fire resistance. Well, looks like we can do this the hard way then. Which goes like, what do you mean? It doesn't matter what you do. I cannot wait till I devour you. Which Rimuru basically will say, oh really? How you can devour someone like me? He goes, huh? He goes, yeah, come on, think about it. I'm not an ordinary, creature, am I? Which he goes like, what? What do you mean by that? Then all of a sudden he goes like, simple. I'm a slime. And then all of a sudden he basically turns into the slime form and everything would go exactly the same way as it was in canon to the to the anime. Basically, his star versus his predator. So basically it's a constant fight for it, and Rimuru, Rimuru aka Naruto would, go and basically try to devour Geld fully, but he fights back still, even if it's near his death. Because, we find out Geld's past, that his people were suffering from a drought, and no food, no water. Basically, a child that was born just basically 2 days ago had died, and the child that was born just yesterday, he says, is on death's door. And basically, he says if he can help out his people by using pieces of him, because his body will always regenerate, he will do so. And then he basically said he didn't go to the forest of Jura. Basically, his subordinate basically says, no, do not go, my king. Basically, the storm dragon, Fedora, basically. And, he says the storm dragon, has been sealed away for a long time. So it's like, they everything happens the way it does. Basically, even Rimuru finds out how Gelmew basically made Gel the Demon Lord and such, by giving him meat basically, and Sid Gel tells him that he will not lose because he has to save his people because his people still starve and such, so he will not be defeated so easily. And yeah, which Naruto says, unfortunately, you're going to die no matter what. He goes, did you not hear me? I will not die. He goes, your predator, not your starve cannot beat my predator. I'm sorry. He goes, Veggie says, I already told you, I cannot die. And if I had to face the whole entire world's hunger on my shoulders, he goes, you still will. Which, this kind of goes on for a bit, which Naruto, kind of just sighs, and he already knows what he needs to say, because after seeing what his people have been going through, and what this man has, what this orc has done, he cannot have nothing more than respect for him, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, doing everything he can for his people, but also, but he's being used, and yet he took the opportunity to save them, so he's like, he did not care. But still, he tried to do everything to save his people, so he literally just says, well, I know what I can do for you then. Which she goes, huh? She says, you worry about your sins basically going to your people. I'll devour them all. Not just yours. Yours and your people's sins. Which she goes, what? Can you really devour all of our sins? He goes, of course. I am a slime after all. And besides, I'll promise your people will thrive after you're gone. Which, I want to say he starts to look, at Naruto, basically, after all the scenery changes, because he goes back to his original form. When he looks, he would see the slime, he would see Naruto in his human form, then he would see the Kurama, basically the nine-tailed fox. He was like, I promise you that your people will not be harmed in any way as long as I'm around. Which, his eyes widened and shocked. He was like, you really will take on our sins? You will eat them and protect my people? He goes, of course. That's a promise. And I never go back on my word. Which, he goes, you are so greedy. So very greedy. And, then he goes, my, basically, hunger has been satisfied, basically, and dies. So, we basically have Naruto, basically, coming out basically of that giant slime tower that he basically was. And he says goodbye to him. And, in a sense, they won. So we do go to the point where Naruto / Rimuru is basically on a hill with basically Barimaru, Soe, Shion, and basically Hiruzen. Which basically goes like, well, as promised, I defeated the Orc Lord. Which Barimaru goes, yes. Lord Rimuru. He goes, yeah? What is it? I know basically I defeated the, Orc Lord for you guys, so you guys can be free. He goes, yes, about that. We would still like to be serving you. He goes, huh? Really? Which Barimaru just nods. He goes like, oh, sweet. That's awesome, guys. Thanks. And, well, basically, Shion basically goes and hugs him like she would to Rimuru and Ken. He goes, and besides, I'm still your bodyguard and secretary. Which he just sighs. He goes, and he just grins. He goes like, what am I gonna do with you, huh, Shion? She goes, I don't know. Basically, though, Hiruzen goes, Lord Rimuru, may I basically see what you look like beforehand? Before you came here. He goes, huh? You sure? He goes, yes. He goes, alright. Which Benimaru, Shion, and Soe are actually, they actually said, we want to see too. Basically, Shion would say, I bet you look great still as a human. So he just kind of just grins at that. His hair would start to get shorter. Back to being the spiky way it was. His eyes change to blue. He still keeps the whisker marks, but he gets a little bit more of an angular face from his, because of his dad. and such. And then his hair actually goes to blonde, and his skin goes back to being tan. He goes, so what do you think? Shion is basically like in shock, and I think a little bit of a blush, which basically, well, basically Beramaru, Soe are basically just like, so this is what you look like as a human. He goes, yep, still have my whisker marks. Basically what caught everyone surprisingly goes, which basically, when Hiruzen, aka, Hikuro, or Hakuro says, hello Naruto, it's great to see you again, my boy. Which that shot Naruto, which basically, that's, because I don't think Naruto would have said anything about his name in the past, just said he was a human, how he was treated, never his name. So, because of what I made, I never told him, I never said, he said his name. So, basically, he was like, Hiruzen, how did you, he just starts chuckling, he was like, my boy, it's actually kind of ironic that you named me my past name, which, he was, which basically Naruto takes a step back, he goes, Gigi? Which he just nods. He goes, it's good to see you again, Naruto. Which, his, tears start to roll down Naruto's face. He goes, wait, does that mean... He does not. He goes, I died. Which basically Shion, Soe, including Beramaru, are all in shock. Basically he goes, wait, this is Hiruzen. He basically, Hiruzen, aka Hikaru, says, Hiruzen Sarutobi. That was my previous name. But Naruto can fill more on it, or should I say Rimuru could, which he basically, Naruto's trying not to cry, as much. He goes back to the way he looked before, red hair, long, red eyes. Basically, he grins. He goes, well, his full title was basically Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, and, well, he was also called the Professor, which, basically they don't really understand it, but with that title and such, what he did say about the Hokage, I think he would have told them that much of it, saying it's the leader. He said he'd actually be shocked, but then Berman was like, oh man, why did you not ever tell us about this? He goes, quite simple. I mean, I could not tell you a name that I was not born with in this world. And going back to the past would have brought up some bad memories I had. Which, Naruto was like, but Gigi, how did you... He goes, my way worst student, Orochimaru, killed me when I was defending the village. Which Naruto's eyes widen. And he goes, wait, how's Sasuke and Sakura? He goes, they took it quite hard. More than what I imagined with Sasuke. But he changed for the better. He does not view his Sharingan as an all-powerful dojutsu. He sees it as only a tool. Now, with Sakura Haruno, she changed quite a bit. She became more she became more training-wise better as a ninja also. Which Naruto's eye was like, wait, so she's training and he basically nods. Yes, she's basically trying to get stronger to prevent you from not prevent you, prevent anyone else from dying the way you did. She does not want to ever see that again, so she's also trying to become a medic nin. Which Naruto just grins. He goes, wait, Orochimaru, but does that mean he does not? He goes, he did try to take Sasuke's, give him a curse mark, which he did succeed. But surprisingly, the will that Sasuke has at this moment when I last saw him was great. But the curse mark could never even be activated. I only asked him one time, how was this even possible? He only said because he holds the will of someone else inside of him. And he made a vow that he would not break that promise. Which Naruto does grin, he goes like, so he really will do everything I couldn't do for me. So basically, Hiruzen nods. He goes, but now we must see the leaders. Well, the leader, basically, the Lizard Man, right, Zoe? Which Zoe just nods, and Naruto leaves. He was like, right, come on, let's go. So yeah. So basically, after everyone gets there, he goes, Alright. Naruto's in a slime form. Basically, just changed into a fox though to basically get comfortable. He goes like, alright, everyone. So, here's the thing. I'm just gonna say what I feel like, and because I haven't done this, so hope you guys understand, and please wait before you say something after I'm done explaining, though. Which they all nod. He was like, alright, so I decided to take on all the sins of the orcs. If you have a problem with that, please come to me and talk. Which basically the orc that wouldn't can say, you can't do that. He was like, I did. You have a problem with it? Too bad. I promised Demon Lord Geld. Which he just sits down in shock. Which he goes like, he looks at the lizard men, chieftain. He goes like, I know you have basically lost the most men in this, but I do have a compromise to where you don't have to look for death penalty for them. And besides, if you really look at it from basically a perspective of survival, then they only were doing everything they could to survive, and the leader only did what he could to basically help his fellow people, which basically the chieftain of the lizardman would nod. Basically, even Beramaru will also call it basically survival. It's all what creatures know of, which that also would be a nod. And I do think Naruto says, and besides, I understand how basically the orcs felt in some way, because I know how it is to be starving for days after days. Which I do think the chieftain will look a little bit unusually the slime and be wondering, what does he mean by that? Which Hiruzen knows, and basically so does Trini doesn't even know either, neither does orcs, but to know someone else basically was starving like them. Yeah, but basically, Shion, Beramaru, Shion, Beramaru, Soe, and Hiruzen basically understand where Naruto's coming from. So he goes, but anyways, I think we can all work this out on something simple. An alliance between all of us. Which, basically, the chieftain of the lizardmen goes like, what do you mean? He goes, well, basically, we can help out, basically, you guys, the lizardmen, and the lizardmen can help out the actual orcs, basically because they basically have no food, they don't have no water at the moment. Basically, we can help them fish and basically clean water and such. And then basically, the forest of Druon can also give them shelters, and then basically even food there too. And we can do exactly the same thing to you. Which then the chieftain goes like, so are you willing to take up the exact same amount that was in canon, basically orcs into your basically forest? Which Naruto says with no hesitation, yes, I am willing to. Which I think that would kind of surprise everyone in that room besides the people that are with Naruto. But just Hiruzen nods. Basically with a smile, which basically both the orc and the lizardman leaders basically are actually he said it without no hesitation. How can he be so sure? Because besides, we do have enough land, and basically with Trini's basically permission, I will ask basically to make more room. I will not basically cut down a tree if it's not needed. Which she would nod and thank you, basically. So, in a sense, the alliance was born. And basically everything goes back to normal. Basically the exact same work that would offer Beramaru for his head and for his people not to be hurt. Beramaru does not kill him because he would exactly say everything in canon, basically his title being a general, basically to the army and tactician, since he is very valuable. Oh yeah, I also forgot that Naruto will also add in that they also give the labor. They work for it and no laziness, and the orcs would be happy and cry and bow to him and say they won't basically disappoint them. So yeah. So in a sense, yeah. Anyways though, what happens is very simple now. Since basically I would say 2 days have passed, and they say they were buildings. They basically were building everything they would in canon. Basically, they would get a working water supply of basically for sewage, faucets, bathing and such. Which Naruto would be actually happy for that, along with basically his basically hot springs is made. His personal hot spring or hot spring just being made was clad. Also with the Ed Dorgun, the Dwarven King, um, Gazelle would basically be on his way too. So Soe would come and basically says, Lord Rimuru, we have an emergency. And yeah, they would basically get there and basically see Gazelle basically, just appearing. So Kenji would go on his basically knee, put his fist on the ground, saying, "My king." He goes, "Kenji, are you doing well?" He goes, "Yes, my lord. Yes, my king, I am." He goes, "Good." So basically, Naruto would jump. He goes like, "My name is Rimuru Tempest. I'm the leader of this village." He goes, and I won't say he would say that he a little bit different. He was like, the slime. I basically came here to see your worth. He goes, huh? Wait, hold up. So he basically jumps and basically turns into a human form. He goes like, this would be more and more appropriate to speak to you. When you think. Basically, he also says, I'm also basically the leader of the Alliance. The Monster Alliance, basically. Which then he goes like, so he does say that then, basically, he goes, wait, no, wait, Naruto then goes, and what do you mean by my worth? He goes like, basically, Gazelle would basically say, well, since you basically say you are the leader of an alliance, then I want to see your worth. I have to see if you're worth, your worth of basically your claim, the leader of this town, by the sword. Which Naruto basically eyes widen, and he goes like, and besides, I want to see if you can basically use that, and well, that little showcase that you have around your hip. Which Naruto literally just goes to the sword and grabs it. He was like, so, you want to have a challenge with me, huh? Alright. So I mean, he does like step away from the group and go over to where Rimuru would be, and then basically Gazelle would basically just like get all into a serious basically battle stance. But then before anything else, Trini would come and say she will be the witness of this battle, and the exact same rules will be in canon in this fight. Which then Naruto just kind of thinks in his head, he's like, well then, looks like I have to be quick. So he would basically do the first move because he was saying I'm not just a king, I'm also an expert swordsman. Which Naruto goes like grins, goes like, well then, show me what you're made of, your highness. So he runs over to him, basically let's just say medium speed, which catches Gazelle off guard a bit. Naruto basically strikes, and the attacks are heavy, heavy to him too, which he does block a few. Basically, he hits Naruto. Naruto basically is skidding, but then he stops. He goes like, hit pretty, basically you swing pretty hard, huh? He goes, well then, it seems I can get a little bit more serious. So he gets into the stance, then he realizes, he goes like, that's Gigi's stance. So yeah, Naruto basically dodges it and then blocks it, which he's just grinning and not really having that much struggle. So basically, the trainer says Rimuru won. And basically, Gazelle basically just starts laughing. He goes like, well, I can see basically I was right about you then. He goes, huh? He goes, well, and this wasn't also you're boasting about it. Basically goes, wait, what do you mean? Well, this was a test. A test to see basically the one who basically defeated the Demon Lord, well, the Orc Demon Lord basically was a malicious being, but you are not. Which he goes, huh. So basically, though, Naruto says, also, your stance is like my master's, basically, fighting style with that. He goes, wait, what? You do me, and then basically Hiruzen comes in and he goes like, seems like the young, basically, human I trained a long time ago grew up to become a fine swordsman. Which he goes like, wait, you are, basically for anything else, because he goes like, oh, forgive me, your highness. Before we get my men, I forgot my manners. He was like, no, it's fine. I mean, then Hiruzen says, to think the young whippersnapper I trained all those years ago becomes such a fine swordsman, even surpassing my own basic skills. He goes, no, I haven't. I still have a long way to go. Which Naruto goes, huh? So Gigi was his master, like he is mine. Small world, even here. So yeah, so basically that night, they do have this basically party and such where everyone's just talking inside, I think Rimru's home base, or just the main thing. And he goes like, so that's why. He goes, yep. Basically though, to find out who would basically defeat the Orc Lord, and to see, like I already said, if they're malicious. And to see though if I also can gain an alliance from them. He goes, huh? Which he does explain that basically Rimuru wanted to take the whole entire forest to himself. He would actually have a lot more resources and power, beside, that's which Drogon won't have. So he wants to create an alliance with them. Which, actually, I can see the reasoning. Well then, I guess I basically should probably tell you also. He goes, huh? I know a few systems that are, would say, problematic for other nations. He goes, like what? Shinobi. Which, I think Dorgon, like basically Gazef, would actually be shocked. He goes, you mean, I'm trying to create a Shinobi system, and of course, if I have alliances, I basically would also have basically, and my enemies, my Shinobis in those enemy places, spying. And I would basically be able to give you information, but you know how Shinobis are. Also gain information on your allies. But I won't ask for much. Just basically for how many numbers of people, locations, basically of your entryways, and to see if basically I actually can basically help out when needed. He goes, like, will you not use? He goes, no. I will not gain any information from my allies, basically main weaknesses or such. Where's the fun in that, basically, he says. He goes, huh? He goes, I mean, I don't see the point in basically finding out weaknesses of my allies. But the more fun it basically would be is actually making them think the question if I actually would betray them or not. And yet, I never would. I mean, they're my allies. Why would I betray them? Which Gazov just says, that's a weird way of saying it. He was like, it may be wrong, but hey, Shinobis, they don't really play fair, do they? Which Gazov would not know. He goes, but you're sure about this? He goes, I mean, technically if I can give information to you guys to actually, help out in certain situations and actually be your, allies, I would also trade goods with you. Which I think Gazov would actually be kind of shocked. He was like, you really would? He goes, yes. Basically, though, what will be your nation? Now, he goes, huh? Basically, if I'm going to accept this has to have a name. This nation does. So he says, maybe I should combine the Great Forest of Tempest with, Great Forest of Jura with Tempest. Basically, I think it was Tempest Jura Federation. Basically, he was like, Tempest Jura Federation. Good name. Now, what will be the name of the town? He goes, huh, I have one. Before he could say anything, Shion, they say like, the basic capital would be Rimuru, which everyone basically were about to agree to, but before anyone could actually, before basically the king, Gazef could say anything, he goes like, hold up! I actually had a name for basically, for the, basically our town, which even Gazef actually curious. He goes, our town name would be called Konoha, which that will surprise Hiruzen. Basically Naruto just smile at that, which, everyone kind of basically will be, the king will actually think that's a good name, but everyone who knows Naruto's past will be like, Lord Rimuru, why would you name that? He goes, the people of Konoha may not have been my friends, but Konoha will always have been my home. I do not hate it like I hated them. Which, basically after he says that, the king will actually be confused along with his men, but they actually hear the cheering of everyone else, basically saying, yeah, that sounds like a good name for basically our town. In which, basically, they said basically Tempest, Juron Federation was named, and also the town, Konoha, was named. And that's how far I got into the series. There was a lot of stuff I could have put in, but it's just like I just mostly see everything went into here in canon. The only difference was Naruto would go in and have killed, basically them instead of Soe, the orcs, to save the lizard queen. The lizard princess. Also, I never went over that, Gabiru was exiled, and basically that I did forget. Naruto did name all the orcs. He also named basically the son, the king, who was the orc that named in canon, was basically Geld too, and they say he named basically Lizardman chieftain Abiru. But let's just say this: while basically though the whole entire festivities going on, near in a basically you could say castle, which basically Laplace go like all that work over nothing. That must be so frustrating for you, Demon Lord Clayman. Which he goes, yes, but this slime. I wonder how I take care of him. Which basically, just like Laplace says, Clayman, which he actually, not taking it back because of, even though he became a demon lord, I think, because I know further the truth, but it's like, hey, Clayman's basically subordinate. He goes, what? He goes, that slime. But what I saw, basically, is he's not normal. It's not even normal at all. I didn't really sense no magicules only near the end. During that whole entire finance section, though, basically speed alone, it was something else. You should be careful, do not underestimate the slime. And I would say for some reason, the instincts in Laplace's mind, actually are screaming out about the slime, goes like, he's dangerous. If I were you, I would not try to make him your enemy. If, I would try to make him my ally if I were you, Clayman. But it's all up to you. But if you ever need me, I'll help you out on, well, a discount or even free. Which, basically, Clayman would just nod. He was like, thank you, Laplace, for your basically honestly concern, but I can handle myself with just a mere slime. But basically he thinks so, but the question remains, how strong is this slime? I must try to find out more about him before I make any plans towards him. So, yeah. So basically, though, I didn't really think out like how many parts episodes I could be basically put into this. So yeah, I probably could have put like one more in, but anyways, though, I do have to basically go to work soon, so I do need to let my phone charge, as you saw. So you guys have a nice day, night, wherever you are. Bye, everyone.